How long will your e-bike battery last? Stick around to find out. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry. Today we're gonna answer the question, how long will your e-bike battery last? Now, before we get into it, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we're doing, and of course, new product releases. All right, you're thinking about buying an e-bike or you have an e-bike and you're wondering, how long will my electric bike battery last? Now, I'm talking about the actual lifetime of the battery, not the range of the battery. And this is a complex question to answer in that usually the lifetime of the battery is based on how many times you charge it and deplete the battery. Our batteries are going to give you 500 cycle charges, so that means depleted to charge. Now, it's very possible that your battery lasts longer than that. It's also not impossible to say your battery will go shorter than that. So a lot of things are going to impact the lifetime of the lithium ion battery. If you overcharge it, leave it on the charger, the storage conditions, the heat, the cold, if you drain the battery all the way down, which is actually not good for a lithium ion battery. Also your usage, the kind of usage, outdoor temperatures it's used in, all of those things can play a factor in it. So it's hard to put a timeline on the battery because someone that's riding more and charging more, the battery is going to last a shorter period of time versus someone who's riding less. The battery may last for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So obviously the more miles you're logging, the more you're charging it, the shorter the time of lifespan for the battery. Now, doesn't mean the battery's actually having a shorter lifespan. It's just the lifespan is condensed in a shorter time period because it's being used more. Sorry, that was a long explanation, but I know that probably makes sense. So I would say, a general expectation minimally is 2 to 3 years on the lifetime of your battery. Now, with that said, I see riders that are going, 10,000 miles in a year, if not more. Not impossible to say your battery won't last a year. So again, find a good brand. 630, we stock batteries that you can buy as replacements. A lot of the bike batteries are specific to the brand and the manufacturer. So you either want to make sure they have them available on the website, or if it's a battery that can be found other places, making sure you have a source, because if the battery dies, but everything else is good on the e-bike, you want to be able to keep using that e-bike if you replace the battery. So I hope that helps. I know it's not a simple answer. If you have any other questions at all, please comment below. And if you have any thoughts on how long a battery will last, please comment below as well. People like to read the comments and find out there. Also, don't forget all these e-bikes linked in the description if you want to check them out. We also offer a 30-day test ride your e-bike policy. If you don't love your e-bike in the first 30 days, send it back. No questions asked, no money out of your pocket. In addition to that, we offer a 1-year warranty. We'll take care of anything in the first year, parts and labor. And lastly, be a part of our community. We have a Facebook group with thousands of members. Join there, talk to those members before you purchase so you're comfortable you made the right choice. Then when you have yours, post in the group, make friends. It's a lot of fun. And then download our app to track your rides and compete on the leaderboard. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey or experience. Enjoy the ride. Is removing a battery from an e-bike hard? Stick around to find out. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry, and today I'm going to answer the question, is removing a battery from an electric bike hard? Now, before I get into it, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we're doing, and of course, new product releases. All right, right here, I have the simple step-through electric bike from 630. It's an awesome e-bike that is very safe and easy to mount and dismount with a low step-through, the lowest step-through of any e-bike on the market. So check it out, linked in the description below. All right, so many of you are probably looking into e-bikes. Maybe you have an e-bike and you've stumbled across my video, but maybe you're wondering about e-bikes. You have lots of questions. And one of those questions is, removing an e-bike battery difficult? Now, simple answer is no. Generally speaking, very easy. Now, the other flip side of that is some e-bikes, you cannot remove the battery at all, depending on the type of frame it is. Now, if you can see here, the battery on this e-bike is located in the rear rack, same on this one. In a lot of situations, you're gonna see the battery behind the seat tube here, or sometimes mounted on the frame here, or sometimes inside the frame of the e-bike. Now, generally, I like to think batteries on the rack here are the simplest to remove. There's a key here, I twist it, and the battery comes out very easily. So it makes it simple to bring it indoors. If you parking your bike somewhere and you want to bring the battery with you, you want to charge it inside and leave the bike somewhere else. Very simple with this type of mounting of the battery. Now, the e-bike batteries that are up here on the frame, also very easy to remove. Generally, you'll have a key, you unlock, and it'll slide right out. Now, the batteries located behind the seat tube here, also easy to remove, but in many situations, you'll have to take the seat out to get the battery out. Now, not all of them, but a lot of those that have bigger batteries, yes, you'll have to take the seat out. Now, that could be annoying for some of you if you found the seat height that you like and you really don't want to have to move that. Then you can either leave the battery on while you charge it so you don't have to take the seat out, or opt for a different e-bike with the battery in a different location. But generally, you'll have to take the seat out, then pull the battery out, bring it with you, and then take the seat off again. So again, if you don't have a quick release seat, which I believe a lot of the e-bikes that have a battery back there would have a quick release seat, otherwise you'd have to use a tool to take the seat in and out, which would be really, really less than ideal for most riders. Now, there's also a handful of e-bikes that have the battery inside the frame. Now, there's a few different ways. Sometimes the battery is sort of built into the top tube here, and there's a key and the battery will just come right out. Other times, the battery's actually inside the tubing. Now, in that situation, there sometimes are batteries that A, cannot be removed at all, or B, they may come out the bottom of the tube, but that's not going to be a very simple, easy process. Or 3, for some folding bikes, you would actually fold the frame and the battery's in there. Now, for the ones that fold and the battery's inside the frame, that's not too difficult. But just keep in mind, if you did want to take the battery out, you'd have to unlock, fold the frame, pull the battery out, bring it and charge it, put it back in and fold it back. Now, again, you just have to think about what's the ideal situation for you. Also, if you even plan on removing the battery at all. If you don't, then no big deal. If you're always going to charge it with the battery on the bike, shouldn't present many issues. Should you need to replace the battery at some point in time, you want to make sure that you can easily access it and get to it. Even the ones that you have to fold and replace the battery, if you did have to replace it, even though you don't usually remove it, shouldn't be that big of a challenge for you to do it one time if you had to do it. Now, for the ones that are inside the frame and you can't remove, that presents a different sort of problem where you may have to take it to a specialist to get the battery and figure out how you can replace one. So, typically speaking, removing a battery from an e-bike is very simple. If it's important to you to have an e-bike where you can easily remove that battery, just make sure to check in advance that you can do it. Also, just think about how often are you going to be bringing a battery inside and outside. And like I said, if you want one that is mounted behind the seat tube and you're going to bring that battery in and out a lot, you may just think, oh God, I don't want to deal with taking that seat on and off every time that I'm going to take that battery in. But again, if you're going to primarily charge with the battery on the bike, it shouldn't be an issue at all. All right, so if you have any other questions at all on the topic, please comment below or reach out to us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. Don't forget, both these e-bikes linked in the description below if you want to check them out. Also, we offer a 30-day test ride your e-bike policy. If you don't love your e-bike in the first 30 days, send it back. No questions asked, no money out of your pocket. In addition to that, we're going to warranty everything for 1 year. Anything goes wrong in the first year, we take care of it, parts and labor. Lastly, join our community. We have a Facebook group called 630 Pedalers. There's thousands of members in there Talk to existing riders before you make your purchase so you feel good that you've made the right choice. Then when you have yours, post in the group, make friends, and also download our app to track your rides and compete on our leaderboard. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey or experience. Enjoy the ride. My e-bike display showed bars for the batteries, but then it died. What happened? Stick around to find out. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry. And today we're going to talk about why does my display show that I have battery life, but then my battery dies. Before we get into it though, hit subscribe below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we do, and of course, new product releases. All right, so right here in front of me, I have 3 different e-bikes, e-trikes, and I've got 3 different displays. If you want to come in and we'll show you really quickly. And we get this comment a lot, right? Like you can see on the display here, this one actually shows, this has 4 battery slivers. We've only got 2 left. This one up here actually has a lot of energy bars. That shows you the different life of the battery. And this one has, I believe this is 5 slices of battery. We're missing 2 right now. We have 3 left. So you're out riding and you had 2 slices left, or on this one you had 5, and all of a sudden it goes down to 0 and battery dies and turns off, right? Well, what happened? So these e-bikes and the displays and the algorithm that is dictating how it's displaying here in the energy in the battery is a very finicky thing that honestly can change in any given moment. Now, as an example, I was just in a Tesla driving actually from California to Las Vegas, and we started the drive out with 244 miles on the charge, and we were going to a destination to stop to charge 170 miles away. Halfway through, the Tesla was now telling me that we wouldn't have enough charge to get there, right? So that was about 60 miles short of where my expected range was going to get me. Now, what caused that? Well, lots of different things, right? Tesla's algorithm is learning how you drive, where you're driving, doing the best to calculate that into a display of how much battery life you have, right? But suddenly when I was driving, it was going down at basically like a 3-to-1 ratio, right? Says I would have, 244 miles, but for every mile driving, it was decreasing by 3 miles. What played into that? Well, 1, I was driving through very hot conditions, very hard work. 2, a lot of inclines on the car. 3, in some situations, I was passing people, accelerating, and also going above 75 miles an hour. Now, so ultimately, I drained the battery a lot quicker than the estimation of the display of Tesla. I bring this up for 2 reasons. 1, to explain that this even happens on a Tesla, which is the most well-funded electric car company in the world with the best engineers in the world. They still can't produce an exact algorithm to how many miles you will get exactly based on your driving habits, right? It's just learning and producing that mileage estimation based on how it thinks the car will be driven, right? So e-bikes, very much the same type of thing, right? This display and these batteries that it's showing you up here, this is an estimation of what it thinks. Now, if you're out for a ride and all of a sudden you hit the throttle and you gas the throttle for 4 miles, these 2 batteries may disappear quick like that, right? Because it thought you were going to ride the e-bike one way. Now all of a sudden you're cranking the throttle at full speed, boom, battery dies. So the other thing I will say is that the sophistication level and technology on an e-bike, doesn't matter what brand or what company you're buying from, it's not nearly at the level of an electric car. And so, to have the expectation that this is going to be an exact science, it's just not going to be the case. So you may 1 minute have a bar and then 1 minute it may die. or you may have a bar and it may last you for 5 to 10 miles, right? Kind of true in a gas car as well. You know, in a gas car, you may be on 0, but you can get 20 more miles. Again, all estimations. So the best thing you can do is start to understand your personal riding habits and how much battery life you get out of your e-bike when you do a particular route or when you do hills. As an example, when I tend to do large hills that are very intense but very short, I may drain 2 bars off of a battery, right? That's happened to me on numerous occasions because you're working that motor extra hard. The battery's got to output a lot of power. It's going to drain the battery much quicker. That's why also when you talk about range and advertised ranges of e-bikes, it's so hard to pinpoint exactly the range because we don't know the weight of the rider. We don't know the conditions you're riding in. We also don't know how you're going to use pedal assist or throttle and any combination of those two things. So to be able to say, oh, you're going to get 40 miles, it would actually just be a complete lie. And the range we give on a lot of our e-bikes where we say up to 50 miles could actually far be undershooting the reality of the range you could get, depending on what level of pedal assist you use, what level of throttle you use. You could possibly get even, you know, way more than that. So it's something to consider. Now, not to say you should be out riding and have three bars on your battery and it goes to 0. But it could happen if you, like I said, all of a sudden we're riding one way in pedal assist 1, and now boom, you're in 5 and you're sprinting. The display was showing you the range it thought you would get under those conditions. Now you've sort of changed your riding habit, or if you did a lot of flat ground and now you're on hills, again, that battery could be completely different. I've seen this happen across all e-bikes. I've seen this happen across electric cars as well. 9 times out of 10, it's not a quality issue. Charge your battery up again, go for a ride, see if you get better range the next time, or basically measure the distance. So if you can track on an app on your phone, or if you have some other way when you start a ride, start to test and see, you know. And really, again, we can give you what we believe that it will be, but the real world experience of how your bike performs to your body in the bike paths or the terrain that you ride in is going to give you the most accurate way of figuring out. So before you jump into a 60-mile ride, expecting your e-bike to get you through the entire ride, maybe start with shorter rides, start to gauge what kind of battery you have left, how your e-bike responds, so you're not stranded somewhere thinking that the battery should have lasted you longer than it really did. So I hope that helps explain the battery display on e-bikes. If you have any other questions at all, please comment below or email us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. In addition to that, visit our website, sixthreezero.com. All these e-bikes are linked on there. We'll also link them in the description. If you don't know what e-bike you're looking for, take our proprietary body fit quiz, answer a few questions about your body and your life. We'll recommend the perfect e-bike for you. In addition to that, 1-year warranty on all e-bikes. Take care of everything in the first year. Lastly, join our Facebook Peddlers group. We have thousands of riders in there. If you want to talk to other riders about their e-bike experience or ask them questions, see how long their battery lasts, go ahead and pop in there and leave a comment, post a question. People will get back to you. It's a lot of fun. Then once you have your own e-bike, you can post photos, make new friends. A lot of fun. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey to experience. Enjoy the ride. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I'm nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry. And today I'm going to teach you how to effectively ride your electric bike to preserve the battery. Stick around. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to effectively ride your e-bike to preserve the battery. But before I get into it, hit the subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we do, and of course, new product releases. And before I get into it, I've linked in our description a link to all the electric bikes on our website, sixthreezero.com, including these 2 models, which is our folding electric trike and also our electric simple step-through e-bike. 2 cool e-bikes linked in the description. All right, so you got a brand new e-bike and you want to know how to maximize the range, and maybe the battery's dying sooner than you expected. So I'm going to go over a couple things today. Also, if you have any thoughts and suggestions on how to prolong your battery and rides, put them in the comments. Let's create a discussion and turn this into a place people can turn to find effective strategies to prolong their battery. All right, I've had an electric car actually too for about 8 years. And so I've learned that there's certain strategies involved in that. And a lot of the things I'm going to discuss are probably pretty intuitive, but we'll put them out there just so everyone understands that some of these simple things you can do will translate to much more range on your battery when you're riding. Okay, number one, depending on the type of e-bike you have, whether it has pedal assist and a throttle or just pedal assist, let's start with the pedal assist. So if you have a pedal assist e-bike, to preserve the range, number one, if you have assistance levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, keeping it in the lower assistance levels is going to prolong your range. Now, I know seems pretty straightforward. So if you have 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, 5 is going to be using the most power from your battery to power your e-bike. And if you're constantly running in the level 5 assistance level, battery's going to drain quicker. So if you keep it in levels 1, 2, 3, those are going to be your most effective to prolong the range of your battery. Level 1, obviously, is going to give you the most range. Level 5 is going to give you the least range. Now, depending on the levels too, is the speed. So if you go, you're really cranking and you're trying to push the wattage up, because as you are in the level 5, the faster you're pedaling, you're increasing the wattage output of that motor, right? So even if you're in level 1 and you're at a cruising pace, that's going to be better range than if you're in level 1 and trying to go as fast as possible. Now, I know people talk about regenerative braking systems and motors. Most e-bikes don't have that. So we're also not going to talk about that today. But these motors do not have the regenerative braking or any sort of regenerative. So you're never getting power back to the motor. The power you use is going to be gone, which is why it's so important to prolong it. Okay, now that explains pedal assist, keeping it in the lower levels. Another key point with the pedal assist is going to be hills. Hills are going to be one of the largest drains on your e-bike batteries. Honestly, I've done hundreds of e-bike rides. You could go on flat ground for miles and get range like you've never experienced before. Then all of a sudden you tackle a hill. Let's say you had all 5 batteries showing on your display. Then you come up to a huge hill and all of a sudden you put it in level 5 assistance and your battery drops by 4 bars. It's not impossible. Depending on the grade and the steepness of the hill and what assistance level you are in, that could seriously drain your battery very quickly. So be mindful, if you're going to tackle hills and pedal assistance, think about how many more miles you have on the backside of that hill to accomplish. Because if you're a rider, let's say like me, I'm over 200 pounds. If you're over 200 pounds, you come up to a pretty steep hill and you put it in level 5, you're going to crush the battery. Now, I know the benefit of having an e-bike is obviously to get up these hills, but if you think you have a lot of miles left after the hill, one option is try to make it up that hill in the lowest possible pedal assist mode you can, or if you can do it manually, or walk your bike, or you can also travel with an extra battery, but that's not going to help you prolong your battery. So my suggestion is try to keep it in a lower assistance level. Also, shift your bike. Like these bikes both have 7 speeds that function independently of the actual electrical components. The gears are just part of this bike like a standard bike. So shift it into first gear. It's going to be the easiest to pedal, and it's going to make pedaling up that hill as easy as possible. Try to put it in level 1. And don't be impatient, right? I know level 5 is going to get you up that hill quicker, but if you can put it in level 1 assistance and in gear 1 for the bike and still make it up the hill easily, you're going to prolong that battery for so much longer. Now, if you need to get up the hill for whatever reason, sure, put it in 5 and go for it, but just know you're going to drain the battery, and the draining is going to be like exponential. I'm telling you, if you're in level 1 and you have it in gear 1 and you get up that hill, you may not even burn 1 bar off. But if you put it in level 5 and you're in, level or gear 3 or something, and you're cooking up that hill, you're going to possibly reduce your battery by two to three bars off the display. So that is a really, really key tip to preserve your batteries on ride, is how you strategically take on these hills. With that said, if you have a throttle on your e-bike, do not do throttle only up a hill. Now, I know it's fun. And again, this is just if you want to preserve the battery. If you have a massive battery and you're confident that you don't need to preserve the battery, or you have an extra battery, by all means, go for it. But if you also take on a hill with just the throttle and you're over 200 pounds and you go up that hill, you are going to absolutely decimate your battery life. I know from firsthand experience, major hills with throttle only is not going to be a good thing. And again, it could be one of those things where you made it for miles and miles and miles on flat ground without reducing your battery at all. Now you take on a really large hill, throttle only, cruise up the hill, you get to the top and you're like, why did my battery drop to 1? Well, you just really pushed that thing to max capacity. You drove the wattage of the battery, you made it work really hard, and it just really drained the battery. Okay, so hills and how you effectively take them on. Avoid the throttle, keep it in low pedal assist, don't be impatient. That's gonna help you preserve the batteries on your ride. Now, if you can do flat ground, or if you do flat ground, you're gonna get really great range. The other thing I was gonna say is you can mix in the battery on and off. Now, I know a lot of people wanna keep the battery on all the time, but if you're going, let's say 10 miles out, 10 miles back, try to manually do it for the first few miles. The longer you can make it, again, prolong the battery. Try to keep that battery with as much juice as long as possible till you absolutely need it, and you can save it for the return trip on the way back. And again, we're just talking about preservation strategies here. If you have a large enough battery or extra batteries, don't worry about preserving anything at all. Okay, the other thing is when you're on flat ground and you're using the throttle, just like a car, if you've ever driven an electric car, the more you accelerate, you'll usually see some kind of bar indicating to you that you're like in a red zone in terms of how much battery you're draining. Just like that with a throttle on an e-bike, if you're really accelerating fast, you're utilizing more energy from that battery to create that surge in power, and you're going to drain the battery quicker. So if you use the throttle, a nice gradual increase is great. And also like a cruise control, keeping your thumb in the same position and not doing a lot of fluctuation. The more like you go from 0 to full throttle and back, that's going to really drain the battery quickly. It'd be better off if you held the throttle at a nice, medium pace, and you don't do a lot of fast acceleration here and there. So that's important to know. Using the throttle is a ton of fun. I advocate it for definitely in certain situations, but the throttle can be an absolute battery drain if you get careless with how you accelerate and how often you accelerate. The other thing is like taking on hills from dead stops. If you're like starting a ride and going straight up a hill, don't use the throttle. I know we talked about hills, but even worse is going to be if you literally are stopped and go up that hill and try to use the throttle to get you up. You're going to drain the battery so quickly. So when you're on flat ground as well, if you can maintain a pace and you're in pedal assist and you leave it in 2 or 3, and you can create a nice cadence with your pedaling, you're going to get tons of range. It's the same thing though. If you put it in 5 and all of a sudden you're slowing down, then you're going real fast. Then you're slowing down, then you're going real fast. You're going to drain that battery very quickly. I mean, anytime you put it in 5. Now, if you put it in 5 and you're cruising at 20 miles an hour max and you're going for miles, yeah, that's going to drain the battery faster, obviously, than if you were in level 1, but also that acceleration and deceleration. So that may be fun at times, but if you're trying to preserve the battery, try to keep a nice constant pace. Even if you're in level 5 and you just keep a good pace going, that's still going to drain the battery quickly, but it's going to be better for the motor and the battery overall to just keep a consistent pace as you ride. And if you're also doing a lot of rolling hills and constant up and down, if there's a lot of that, that's going to drain the battery very quickly. So my suggestion is keep it in 1 on the pedal assist, keep it in your low gear on the bike too in level 1, which will make it easy to pedal, and you can reduce your needs around using the motor as much as possible. And I think the big thing too is level 1, 2 will still get you up hills. Like I said, it's just not going to get you up hills quite as fast. The other thing too is downhills. Now, again, there's no regenerative braking on these e-bikes. Some may have it, but downhills, just like in a car, take your foot off the gas. And I find this too with electric cars as well. When I'm coming down hills, a lot of times I'll take my foot off the gas in the electric car just to preserve that. I don't need to gas it. Even if you're just giving it a little bit of gas, you're still draining that battery, whether in your car and your bike. Just enjoy the downhill. You may want to go as fast as possible. I get it. But if you're looking to prolong the battery, just let the hill take you as fast as it's going to take you. Let off. You know, you can even turn your motor off for that time that you're cruising down the hill. If it's a very large hill, if it's a short hill, just pull off. And you can shift it into 0 to make sure you don't use any power. And then when you come off the backside of the hill, don't use the motor. Use the momentum of the hill to propel you. Just shift your gear into the highest gear you have, because when you're coming off that hill, you'll have a lot of momentum. Put it into 7. If you have 21, put it in 21, because you can cruise for a while building off the momentum and the power that the hill gave you. So that's another key thing. Use the momentum of the hills to your favor on the downhills, and don't let them kill you on the uphills, right? And that's really it. Those are some of my, my basic tips. Just use it effectively. Try not to do a bunch of starting and stopping. If you can avoid using the throttle, or you don't have to, don't. It'll preserve the battery. Use as much of the manual element of the bike as possible, and you'll be able to get lots of miles. I've seen the ranges of my batteries go from as little as, 10 miles to as much as 80 miles. And I'm not joking at all. It's really just come down to how effectively I've been riding it. Last thing I'll say is tire pressure. Tire pressure will play some role. If you have, low tires, there's going to be more drag on the bike. So pump your tires up all the way. Make sure they're good and to the correct PSI, because that's going to reduce the drag on the bike and preserve your motor as well. One other thing I would say is try to ride with the wind. The least amount of resistance against you. Now, if you're going there and back, you're going to have to go into the wind at some point, but just be aware of it. If you're riding into the wind, it's going to create resistance. You're probably going to want more power for the bike. Maybe you could be mindful of that. If you're fighting the wind on the way out on your ride, try not to use your bike as much as possible. Preserve that battery. Keep it in level 1. Just don't be impatient. If you know you're fighting the wind and you're like, why am I only going, 10 miles an hour? Just realize that it's because you're going into the wind. If you start to get impatient, put this in 5 and you're fighting the wind, you're going to drain that battery much quicker. Last suggestion or thing to be mindful of with your battery drain is your body weight. And just like me, I'm over 200 pounds. If I weighed 130 pounds, I'm going to get much more range out of my battery. And that is really actually going to be a massively effective thing to extend the range of any battery. And I'm not just talking about the rider, but it could just be reducing the load, period, right? If you have 50 pounds in a basket, that's going to drain the battery quicker. So if you're looking to get a really good amount of range on a ride, try to lighten your load, right? If it's a shorter ride to the grocery store and you don't care about draining the battery, you can put as much as you want in there. But I personally know I'm 220 pounds. I've ridden with friends who are 110 pounds, 150 pounds, and every single time they have more battery left than me because my motor's working harder, which is requiring more energy from my battery to power me versus them. Lastly, keep it on pavement. If you ride your e-bike on pavement, again, less drag, it'll roll smoother, you'll preserve the battery. Anytime you go off-road, hard-packed trails, things where the battery has to, work harder or where there's more drag on the tires, it's going to drain the battery much, much quicker. So if you're looking for range and long rides, stay on good, smooth pavement, stay off gravel, stay off hard-packed trails, things like that. All right, that covers most of the tips and tricks I have for extending the range of your battery. If you guys have any suggestions, please comment below. I'd love to hear them. Or you can email us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. In addition to that, you'll find all of our e-bikes linked in the description below, including these two. We have a huge selection for different types of riders. Also, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't love your e-bike in the first 30 days, send it back. No questions asked, no money out of your pocket. In addition to that, we'll warranty all e-bikes for 1 year. And lastly, we have thousands of happy riders in our Facebook Peddlers group. If you're interested in an e-bike or a 630 bike, join that group before you purchase, ask them questions, get comfortable before you jump in and make a purchase. Then once you have an e-bike and a 630 bike, post photos, make new friends. It's tons of fun. So thank you for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride. Hey guys, today we're going to explain what size battery do you need for your electric bike. Stick around. All right, so today we're going to talk about what size battery you need for your electric bike. But before I do, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630 so you can be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, including giveaways of bikes, e-bikes, and accessories, and also new products. So hit subscribe. Now, e-bikes, all the craze right now, and there are lots of different sizes, shapes, motor sizes, and of course, battery sizes, what we're going to talk about today. So, behind you, I have our 630 500 watt e-bikes. These have 48 volt, 10.4 amp hour batteries. Now, there are all sorts of battery sizes and shapes. I'm going to give you some general principles around what size battery do you need. Now, I've been in the bike industry for 15 years, and I've been helping people find bikes and e-bikes for a very long time. And when people come in looking, I always ask them, well, how are you going to ride your e-bike? Where are you going to take it? What are your needs? And one thing I see also in being a part of a lot of forums and post-purchase feedback is after people get an e-bike, I think they discover that they're riding the e-bike in a lot of new ways that they never thought possible, or they started to push themselves to do more. So I think what I'm seeing is your first e-bike may not be your last e-bike, and you may go through an evolution of needing more battery or a bigger battery or spare batteries. So I'm going to do my best to explain to you maybe on your first e-bike, how do we determine what size battery? But I think after you ride for a year or two, you're going to discover that how you thought you would use your e-bike may be different from how you actually are, because I think you're going to realize you're going to ride farther, do more, go different places. So battery sizes, there's two ways to talk about e-bike battery sizes, the volts and the watts. And you multiply those two to get amp hours. So I've seen some manufacturers talk about the size of the battery in amp hours, like 681. Other people talk about it 36 volt and 10.4 amp hours. Sorry, amp hours. I don't know if I said amp hours. So you can say volts, amp hours, or you can say watt hours. So you can multiply the two together. I've seen other people on their sites where they multiply them. We list our batteries just saying 48 volt, 10.4 amp hour, which is what these two are behind us. So, but you should hopefully be able to get both types on most websites. Now, the battery size, number one with the battery size, the battery is typically the most expensive piece of an electric bike. So that's something that is really important to think about. You know, if you get a very large battery and you only end up riding your e-bike maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 miles at a time, you're really going to have spent all this extra money to have a super large battery when you really don't need it. So something to consider is how far are you really going to ride? How much battery juice do you need? The other option too is that if you find you got a littler battery, you can most likely buy either a secondary battery you could bring with you on rides, or buy bigger batteries, a bigger battery later on. At 630, we are actually about to offer a bigger battery for these bikes, which will be 48 volt, 14 amp hour, which is going to give you a lot more juice on your rides. So typically you see 250 watt motors, 500 watt motors, 750 watt motors. All of those are going to use different battery sizes, typically speaking. Now, you can have the same battery size as a 500 watt on a 250 watt. You're typically not going to have the same battery size on a 250 watt as on a 500 watt. You can bring the bigger battery down, but too small of a battery on too powerful of bike is going to drain that battery very quickly. So typically as the motor goes up, the battery's enlarged, because if you're going faster, you're draining the battery quicker. Makes complete sense, right? So also, a lot of times with fat tire e-bikes, you're going to see larger batteries because you're going to have more drag. So you're going to drain that battery quicker because the bike is powering those fatter tires. So It's now typically the manufacturers do the best job they can of matching the correct battery size to the watts of the motor. There's sort of typical battery sizes for a 250 watt motor, typical battery sizes for a 350 watt motor, typical battery sizes for a 500 watt motor. There's ranges, I would say, as well. Like, it's not always the same. I've seen some 500 watt e-bikes that have 21 amp hour batteries. I've had some e-bikes that have had 500 watts that have 10.4 amp hour, 14 amp hour. Again, you're going to pay more money for that increased battery size. As an example, we retail these currently for around $1,500 with a promotion going on. So $1,500, and we have a 10.4 amp hour. It's a 500 watt motor. I've seen the same e-bike, 500 watts or very similar, that's been $2,200, $2,300. They have a 21 amp hour battery. So you're paying a little bit more for that larger battery. And again, it's something that you can just look into. And then when people talk about the range and how long can you get out of the batteries, that's a very difficult question because many factors that play into it. How fast are you going? Are you using the throttle? Are you using pedal assist? Are you going up and down hills? And how heavy the rider is. Now, obviously, with a larger battery, you're going to get more range. But to say how much more range you will get out of a 10.4 hour versus a 14 versus a 21 amp hour, it's very, very difficult to say that because of how it's being used. Now, if I could guesstimate, I would say it's going to be basically about the percentage. It's going to be a percentage increase, right? So a 14 amp hour is about 40%, or sorry, is like 10%, about 14%. So you're getting about 14% more out of a 14 amp hour versus a 10.4, 21 amp hour. You're going to get about 20% more than a 10.4 and a 21 amp hour. So basically think of it that way. Now, the exact mileage, it's going to depend on the bike. It's going to depend on how you're riding, things of that nature. One other thing to consider then with the battery is the size and the actual configuration of it. So bigger batteries are going to weigh more. You've got batteries like ours that go back here, pretty thin. This is a 10.4 amp hour. This is going to weigh about 8 pounds. Now, a 21 amp hour usually is going to be mounted back here or sometimes here. So the design plays into the battery selection as well. You have to think about what is most important to you. Is a combination of the aesthetic and the battery important, or do you just want the biggest battery? Sometimes the biggest battery is going to be the most aesthetically not pleasing because it's going to be something huge right here. It's also going to be heavier. 21 amp hour battery is probably going to weigh about 12 pounds, 13 pounds. So you're going to add more weight onto the bike with the larger battery. Now, one thing I will say is if you're going to ride your bike a lot, I'm 215 pounds. If you're a heavier rider, having a bigger battery will be helpful because we're going to drain the battery quicker because the motor's going to be working harder to pull us. So riders, 250 and under can get away with 10.4 amp hour, 8 amp hour batteries if it's casual riding. And then sort of my weight, it's kind of there's a middle section, right? 215 to 250 where it's borderline. You might want a bigger battery. If you're 250 and above, you probably do want to look at 14 amp hour, 21 amp hour, depending on your riding. If it's mostly flat ground riding, I've gotten 20 miles out of this bike personally with just using the throttle. So 10.4 amp hour battery, the range with throttle, I've done 20 miles. Pedal assist, it's going to be 30 to 50 miles. So that's kind of a basis. 500 watt motor with these size tires, 215 pound rider. And we have another video on that with how far does the e-bike go. 20 miles with just throttle. So that's a lot of distance, right? So if you're 250 and you're just doing throttle, that's not bad. You're going to get 10 to 15 miles and you're going to get, 25 to 45 miles with the pedal assist. So again, another one of those factors. How are you going to ride the bike? Are you going to ride primarily in throttle, primarily in pedal assist, just a little bit of pedal assist? If you just plan to barely use the pedal assist, opt for a smaller battery. You're going to save yourself a bunch of money. If you're going to work that battery and you're going to be using pedal assist 5 and you want to go as fast as possible, get a bigger battery, because I tell you what, you're going to kill that thing really, really quick. Also, if you're going to do a ton of hills and that motor's going to be working hard, get a bigger battery. You're going to need it to last. When I say bigger battery, I'm saying 14 amp hours and above, 21 amp hour, things like that. If you're going to cruise and just use pedal assist and you just want a great recreational e-bike, 10.4 amp hour is great. 8 amp hour is great. You're going to be on flat ground, nothing crazy. The other thing I will say is if you want to save yourself money on the initial purchase, opt for a smaller battery, or opt for something 10.4 amp hour and below, and then you buy a secondary battery. It might cost you $200-300. I have another video showing how you can bring a second battery. You place a bag back here and you can slip it in. It's really no big deal. You wouldn't feel the difference too much by putting it in a bag in the back here. So that's also another option. You can swap those batteries out. Again, and then when you go up to the 21 amp hour batteries, they're going to be so large that I don't even know it would be feasible to bring a secondary battery on a ride. It would be, but they're going to be longer and a little bit bulkier. So if you like the idea of having one sort of smaller, lighter battery and then a secondary battery, if only that you bring on the trips that you want a secondary battery, then that's a great option as well. So I hope I've helped you more than I've confused you, but you can see the idea of what size battery is. There's a lot of choices to be made. And I would say, number one, think about the price and what you're comfortable with. And then number two, what the needs are going to be of your ride, how much you weigh, what kind of hills you're going to be doing, and then the distance, right? And if you're heavier, doing a lot of hills, bigger battery. If you are, 215 and below, flat ground riding, you won't need a huge battery. In addition to that, even if you make the wrong decision the first time, you can always buy secondary batteries and bring them along with you. So don't forget that's an option. So if you have any specific questions about what battery you need, please comment below or shoot us an email, theteam@sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. And also go to sixthreezero.com. You can check out our e-bikes. We've got 14 amp hour bikes, 10.4 amp hour e-bikes, 21 amp hour e-bikes. You can check it all out there. And if you're in the market, take our proprietary body fit quiz on our website. Answer a few questions about your body, your life, and our proprietary algorithm will recommend the perfect bike for you. And we have a 30-day test ride your e-bike policy. If you don't love your e-bike within 30 days, send it back. No money, no questions asked, no money out of your pocket. Lastly, be a part of our community, our Facebook Peddlers group, and download our app. Both are great places to visit prior to purchasing because you can talk to other riders, see their e-bikes, and ask them questions about their experience. And after you have your e-bike, go on our app, track your rides, compete on the leaderboard, make new friends, and post photos in the Peddlers group. It is a ton of fun to be a part of the community. So thank you for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.
Hey guys, Peter Cult Rider here with 630 Bicycles, and let's talk about battery cycles. Stay tuned. All right, here we are, Peter Cult Rider, 630 Bikes. Let's talk about battery cycles. How much you can expect, how many cycles you can expect to get out of your battery. I have a battery right here. I'm gonna yank it out. I have a microphone right here. I don't know why I'm yelling. So anyway, our battery, like almost all e-bike batteries and a lot of electric car batteries like the Tesla Model S, use the famous 18650 battery cell. This is a 500 watts, so it has 52 of these little puppies, whereas a Tesla has about 7,000. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to improve the life cycle of your battery. That's in a different video that we have. But anyway, let's see how many cycles we can get out of a battery. So the battery is dependent on the cells inside of it, the 18650s. The 18650s are rated for about 800 to 1,000 cycles under the conditions that we expect them to be used. So 800 to 1,000 cycles. That's for the battery cells, okay? However, they all have to operate together, and the battery pack is only as good as its weakest cell, okay? And there are lots of ways to improve the way the cells are managed and by balancing the battery and under what conditions you're using it, et cetera, et cetera. So we then go ahead and reduce the amount of cycles that we expect to get out of the battery pack, this thing, to about 640, okay? Now it's going to vary but quite a bit by the way that you ride and how you use it, how far up you charge it. There's a lot of ways to extend your battery life, but you know, none of it's really that important. You can, but I would expect you just to ride the bike how you want to. The main thing is you don't want to overcharge your battery. Now, as far as the total battery pack goes, like I said, 640 cycles is about what we say. Other e-bike companies may say like 1,000 cycles. They're kind of, that's maybe a little on the wishful thinking side because they're talking more about the cell than the battery pack. But again, it's going to depend a lot on your use. So anyway, about 640. If you're a little rougher on it or you deplete the battery a lot, you may get 300 to 500 cycles out of it. That's still quite a lot. If you're getting like 30 miles per ride times 500 cycles, that's a good 15,000 miles. So again, not something I would worry a whole lot about, but we do have another video on how to get more cycles and get more range. All right, thanks for watching. I really hope that was helpful. If you need any more help, please don't hesitate to contact us at 310-982-2877 or the team at sixthreezero.com. 630 is spelled out, SIXTHREEZERO. Also subscribe to our channel, and remember, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride. Hey everyone, Peter Colorado here at 630 Bikes. A question we get a lot is, what is inside the battery? Let's find out. All right, so what is inside this battery? This is a very common question. It's also very surprising. I think very few people really know what's in this mysterious black box. So I'll show you. I pulled one apart last night. I almost electrocuted myself, so don't do this at home, but I'll show you. So it's really fascinating, but the battery pack, this is just a case basically. And what it does is it encloses the battery cells, okay? So the battery cells are these that are actually also batteries themselves. So this is more of a battery pack. This is the 500 watt battery. So it has 52 of these cells or batteries. There are 13 sets of 4, right? Now, the cool thing about these is that it's really just a battery. This is like a, you know, the same thing you could find in a rechargeable flashlight. There's just, instead of like 3 or 4 batteries, there's 52 of them. If you get an electric car, like a Tesla has the same batteries, 18650, or at least they start out with that, but they have about 7,000 of these guys. So that's all there is in that battery that makes the car go, 300 miles. Really fascinating. The 18650 is just called that because that's the size. It's 18 millimeters in diameter by 65 millimeters long. And actually, the battery itself is also, the cells themselves are quite interesting. They are a lot less toxic than old batteries used to be with the lead and acid. These are lithium ion. The lithium ion is a really ingenious device. So let me just kind of give you an example. As you can see, it's a cylinder. Let me put it down. And the cylinder is made up of really kind of like a roll of paper towels. There's a long sheet like this made of several layers of strips of lithium ion, copper, and separators. And then those are simply rolled up into a cylinder and then stuck into a can, a small can. And that's how the battery is made. It's just a rolled up sheet, several sheets of the lithium ion, graphite, copper, separators, and then that's stuck into an ionic gel or substance that helps the transfer of the electrons when the battery is activated. So that's all it is. It's just a bunch of little batteries. Same thing with electric car or all sorts of other rechargeable devices. I hope that helps. All right, thanks for watching. I really hope that was helpful. If you need any more help, please don't hesitate to contact us at 310-982-2877 or the team at sixthreezero.com. 630 is spelled out, SIXTHREEZERO. Also subscribe to our channel, and remember, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.
Hey guys, Dustin here, CEO of 630. Today we're going to answer the question, can electric bike batteries be repaired? Stay tuned. All right, so today we're going to answer the question, can electric bike batteries be repaired? Before we jump in, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us at 630 and be in the know about everything we're doing here. And we do weekly, monthly contests. for giveaways on e-bikes, bikes, and accessories. So hit that subscribe button so you know about it first. All right, so let's answer the question, can electric bike batteries be repaired? The answer is yes. I think like anything technology out there, they can always be repaired. I've seen 1 or 2 companies here in California that will take e-bike batteries and fix them, replace the cells on the inside. Now, it's not something we at 6threezero do here for our e-bike batteries. We would just issue a replacement, whether you purchase it or if it's warranty, we would send you one. But it is something that could be repaired. I think it's a lot like a cell phone. You know, when a battery dies in a cell phone, you're generally not going to repair the battery, you're just going to replace the battery. And so I think, 9 out of 10 times for an e-bike battery, the best option is going to be just to replace that battery. When you look at the time and labor and money involved to actually try to fix the electric bike battery, I think you're always going to be better off just buying a brand new one or getting a replacement. But like anything else from technology, it's possible to be replaced and fixed. Now, if you're an at-home tinkerer and you think this is something you want to take on, by all means, you'd have to find some replacement cells online, depending on the battery you're using, or maybe the particular manufacturer of either the battery or the bike keeps cells on hand that you could replace, or it could be a bad wire. Again, you'd have to diagnose the actual issue before you move into the repair, which I think makes repairing an e-bike battery a little bit tricky. And again, which is why I recommend just a full replacement. But to answer the question, can they be repaired? Yes. We don't do it at 6threezero though. So if you have any other questions, comments, or thoughts on this topic, please put them below. Or if you have recommendations for repairing e-bike batteries or know someone, please put them in the comments section. We'd love to hear about it. Also, don't forget, visit sixthreezero.com. Check out our electric bike section if you're in the market. We have a huge, huge selection, men and women's, and all types of colors. And take our proprietary body fit quiz on our website. You'll answer some questions about your lifestyle, your body, and our proprietary algorithm will fit you to either the right e-bike or the right standard bike, depending on what you're in the market for. And the bonus, we have a 365-day return policy. If you don't love your bike within 365 days, send it back, 0 questions asked, no money out of your pocket. And lastly, download the 6threezero pedaling app. Track your rides and be a part of our community. And we do weekly, monthly giveaways for our leaderboard there every week and every month for e-bikes, standard bikes, and accessories. Whoever rides the most miles in a given week wins something depending on what the prize is each week. All right, so thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.
Hey, all you lithium-ion fanatics. This is Peter at 6threezero e-bikes and bikes. Everyone has a lithium-ion battery in some way, either in their laptop or their cell phone, or maybe their e-bike or their Tesla. You've got a lithium-ion battery. You probably have several in a drawer somewhere in your kitchen or in your desk. What do you do with those? All right, so if you have a lithium-ion battery, you probably have a few lying around, maybe an old phone or in your computer. Again, the e-bikes here we're interested in. All lithium-ion batteries will eventually lose their ability to charge. So they'll degrade over time. It may take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years or so, maybe even 10 years in a sophisticated system where the battery's managed very well. However, the lithium-ion battery will lose its capacity and will no longer be useful. However, there are a lot of components inside the battery that can be reused again and are still useful. So anyway, you're supposed to recycle your lithium-ion battery. In no way should you ever throw these things away. There are a lot of reasons why, environmental, but also in terms of just good stewardship of precious materials that are actually getting harder and harder to mine, and that we need here in this country and around the world for the products that we use. So what you should do is take it to a recycling center. They're very easy to find. A lot of places like Staples, Office Supply, Lowe's, Home Depot. There's a electronics store called EBike, iFix that will usually take it. Also, your local waste facility will usually take it. There's a really great website called Call2Recycle. It's call2recycle.com. I'll write that down in the comments. call2recycle.com. You can go there, just put in your zip code, and it'll show you the various places where you can drop off your battery. I really encourage you to do this. It's the right thing to do for the environment, in my opinion, but also things like the cobalt, the nickel, the copper, and the lithium, of course, are all very, very valuable materials. They're getting harder and harder to mine, and the mining itself is a very complex and also environmentally damaging process. But we have all these wonderful materials already right here. So I do encourage you to recycle it. It's amazing because there are a lot of facilities around the United States, especially one started by a man named J.B. Straubel, who was the man behind the battery at Tesla. And so he started up his own company called Redwood Materials. You can look that up. It's pretty cool. And he brings in a lot of lithium-ion batteries, and then they recycle it. They take it apart. They pull out all those precious materials, the cobalt, the lithium, the copper, the graphite, etc. And then they can separate all those materials and give it back to Panasonic or whoever is building more batteries. Just take it back to the raw materials. And at some point, it's believed that the biggest source of materials for new batteries, for new cars and other devices, will actually be in the stream already, because it will get increasingly difficult to mine, as they have to dig farther or search farther afield to get these materials. So I do encourage you to recycle it. It's easy to. Also, if you're worried about your data, these recycling centers will completely wipe the information on the computers or on the phones or whatever before they destroy it. So it's supposed to be that your information is safe and it won't get into nefarious hands. So do recycle it. You can take it to one of the places that I just mentioned, or you can go on to Call2Recycle's website. If you don't live close to any facility, they can actually mail you a kit where you can put the battery in, and then they'll take care of it. So please do that. Good for the environment, but also good for the country for salvaging these very, very valuable and increasingly expensive materials to put back into the production stream and keep us going with our cell phones, laptops, e-bikes. I truly hope that was helpful for you. If you liked it, please do like it and hit subscribe. It helps grow our channel. And if you need any help at all, please contact us. You can call us at 310-982-2877 or email us at theteam@sixthreezero.com. Remember, 630 is spelled out SIXTHREEZERO. The team at sixthreezero.com. Thanks.